All right, let's just dive right in, shall we? We're going to talk about those foundational skills. The ones that make the difference between a presentation that puts people to sleep and one that actually truly makes an impact.
I mean, you've been there, right? You're sitting in a presentation, your mind starts to drift, you're totally checked out. It's a painfully familiar feeling for the audience. But for the presenter, wow, what a huge missed opportunity.
And that's because, look, a great presentation isn't just about dumping a bunch of information on people. Not at all. It's about creating real change. You could be trying to influence a big decision or maybe just teach someone a new skill. Either way, this is an absolutely vital tool for your career.
And the difference it makes is, well, it's night and day. A weak presentation, your message gets lost. Opportunities just evaporate. But an effective one, suddenly everything's crystal clear. You're influencing stakeholders, and you can literally see it boosting your career. It's that powerful.
Okay, so how do we get from one to the other? It all starts with what I like to call your presenter's toolkit. And the number one rule of any toolkit is simple, right? You've got to choose the right tool for the job.
When you break it all down, it really comes down to three basic approaches. Just three. And each one has a totally different goal. Yeah, you can think of them like the primary colors of the presenting world.
So your first choice is to inform. Your goal is just to educate. Or you could persuade, where you're trying to change minds or get people to act. And finally, you can instruct, which is all about providing that step-by-step guidance. And let me tell you, picking the right one of these right from the get-go, that's probably the single most important decision you're going to make.
Let's talk about informing. When you inform, you're basically a neutral guide, just the facts. Think about giving a project update or maybe a really complex technical overview. Your one and only job is to make sure the knowledge gets across clearly. You're not trying to sell anything.
But with persuasion, that's a whole different ballgame. You switch from being a neutral guide to being an advocate. This is where you make your sales pitch or ask for that funding or argue for a bold new strategy. It's all about driving a very specific outcome. And then we have instruction. This is your classic how-to, like a software tutorial or a safety training session. The goal here is 100% practical. You want to empower your audience so they can walk away and actually do something new all by themselves. All right, so you've picked your tool from the toolkit. You're going to inform, persuade, or instruct. Great. But, and this is a big but, none of that means a thing if you don't understand the most critical element of any presentation, your audience. So this is the real question, isn't it? The one every great presenter obsesses over. Because it's not about what you want to say, it is always about what they need to hear and, just as important, how they need to hear it. Look, a one-size-fits-all presentation, it's a recipe for disaster. It just doesn't work. The way you talk to your own colleagues is going to be totally different from how you talk to a room full of students or, say, a handful of very important stakeholders. Every single group has its own needs, its own level of knowledge, and its own expectations. Okay, so you know who you're talking to. Fantastic. Now comes the next big challenge. How do you keep them hooked? Really locked in? Especially today, right? In a world of virtual meetings, how on earth do you hold someone's attention from slide one all the way to the end? And the reason that's so important is, well, it all comes down to a simple truth. If your audience is not engaged, your message is dead on arrival. I don't care how brilliant it is, it's lost. Engagement isn't just a nice to have, it's not a bonus. It's literally the entire game. Which brings us to our last and maybe most important piece of the puzzle, measuring your impact. Because the real test of your presentation doesn't happen when people are clapping or when the Zoom call ends. Nope, it happens long after that. So really, what are the metrics that matter? It's so easy to get caught up in whether people smiled or left a nice comment, but what are the real signs? What are the indicators that tell you that you actually made a difference? Here's the number one thing you've got to remember. A successful presentation isn't about how slick your delivery was, it's about the outcome. Did your presentation lead to a decision being made? Did it actually change someone's behavior? Did that person learn a new skill? That's the real measure of success. So, I want to leave you with this final thought to chew on. As technology just keeps marching forward, how do you see presentations changing in your specific field? Because, the tools, the software, that's all going to change. But that fundamental human need for clear, impactful communication, that is never, ever going away.